In recent memory, I don't think I've ever seen someone's career self-destruct as hard as Twomad's career has. Like figures that I've covered on his channel before, such as Call Me Carson, Twomad went from a universally well-liked creator due to his strange sense of humor to becoming one of the most hated creators on the platform overnight. But unlike figures like Carson, the path he took to become hated is rather unique. With people like Carson, he was outed by his friends for some allegedly bad things that he did, took a few months off for himself, then came back to the internet, albeit with dwindling numbers. But with Twomad, the way he got outed and his responses themselves were very unusual to say the least. What happened is that Twomad essentially caused his own downfall with every decision he's made, whether it was the memes he would post or him refusing to actually respond properly to things being alleged against him. And I'm going to be covering how exactly this happened. But just a quick disclaimer before I begin this, I'm not going to be talking about any serious allegations against Twomad. Well, at least not in depth. I still don't know who's actually in the right here, and if I were to cover it, I would rather have every bit of information instead of a third of the story. So with that said, let's get into the video. Now, in order to explain why exactly Twomad's career started to spiral down, I feel like I need to explain a bit of context as to why he was starting to be hated in the first place. At the time that Twomad was starting to get hate towards him, he had left both his channels inactive for months at that point. The only platform he was really active on at this point was Twitter, where he essentially became known for trying to stir the pot and get people mad. A notable example of this was when he would tweet out some art that was made from someone else, then claim that it was just made by himself. This caused an uproar on Twitter, with people either criticizing Twomad for straight up stealing art, or just calling him unfunny and obnoxious, essentially. But this instance really wasn't too serious. Sure, some people were mad at him, but Twomad had most of his fanbase defending him at the time, with them generally understanding that he was simply making jokes, which honestly I agree with. I do understand the people who would be mad at him, but it was also an obvious joke, and nobody actually thought that he made the art, so the outrage around this was overblown to say the least. Twomad himself didn't really lose anything from this incident, except maybe the respect of some people on Twitter, which doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, so he was completely fine for the most part. If he kept uploading to YouTube and stopped getting himself into Twitter controversies, he'd probably be completely fine now, and this video wouldn't have any reason to exist. But that's not all he did, and he eventually tweeted something so controversial that it ruined his entire reputation. What happened is that somebody replied to him, essentially telling him to take a break since he looked like a no-life. So what did Twomad respond with? He thought it would be funny to say, "I have a girlfriend, bro, look," with a picture of a girl attached to his tweet. And if you're wondering why people were so mad about this, here's what happened to that same girl in Twomad's attached image. Yeah, you could probably tell why people were mad at this. Now, Twomad himself claimed that he didn't know what happened to the girl, and that he just thought she was hot, which is fair, honestly. You could say, well, how could have he not known? But it's not like it's impossible. Maybe he just saw it randomly on Twitter and didn't read the caption attached to it. But the weirdest thing about it to me is that the girl in his tweet was 16, and even after knowing that info, Twomad kept calling her hot in tweets. Maybe he was just referring to what he was thinking before he found out who the girl even was, but it still feels weird to me either way. Now, I still feel like Twomad could have kept his career intact after this whole thing. If he got off Twitter and worked on himself a bit, or at least stopped tweeting and kept making videos, nobody would have cared about this thing after a little bit. But because it's Twomad, that definitely wasn't going to happen. He kept tweeting and responding to people, and had what can only be described as a major mental breakdown over his entire situation. As you could probably tell, this didn't make him look too good, and made his entire situation a lot worse. So much so that at one point, Twomad changed his profile pic to Call Me Carson's for some reason, and Carson felt the need to change his profile pic to something else at the same time in order to not be associated, which was pretty funny to me in all honesty, and it would only get worse from here. Someone who claimed to know Twomad came out with some pretty serious allegations against him, with the most serious claims being sexual assault, and him just genuinely being insane. I'm not going to cover this much in depth in this video, because the situation is still ongoing and I'd rather not pick a side here, or potentially mess up covering the story with messy info. So instead, I'm going to cover Twomad's response to the whole thing. For most normal people, I'd assume they'd probably get off of Twitter to work on a response, release it with whatever evidence they have, and leave it there. But this is Twomad that we're talking about, so there's no way that that was happening. Instead of responding to the allegations against him, he kept up the schizo posting on Twitter, with a lot of it now going towards the girl that spoke up about him. At first, maybe I could find some of what he was doing funny, sure, but after a little bit, it just becomes sad to see. I didn't enjoy watching a guy's sanity essentially vanish while browsing Twitter sometimes. It's just very jarring to watch, but maybe that's not the right term for it. Maybe he isn't just having a mental breakdown. If you watch the guy's content, you'd find a very schizo type of humor, and with this entire situation, it's becoming very clear that in his videos, he wasn't playing some some character. This is just genuinely how he is, which is kinda telling in hindsight. But that's pretty much all I have to say for this section. Moving on. Now, this video should have ended with the last section. Twomad was schizoing on Twitter and not handling the situation well at all. What more is there to say about his situation? Well, with Twomad, this constant posting didn't stop on Twitter. Instead, he moved this posting to his second YouTube channel as well. First with a video that was simply titled The Respond. Yeah, I'm not kidding, it was called The Respond. That's not me just fucking up on my script. Which, by the way, he changed the title of that video multiple times. As I'm scripting this, the video has the title of ABCDEFG with the thumbnail being Call Me Carson for whatever reason. So that's just weird. When this video initially came out though, people thought that Twomad was actually giving a proper response. It's 44 minutes long after all. Doesn't seem like some meme video. Hell, even I thought it was a real response, until I actually clicked on the video, and within the first 5 seconds, I heard an ear-piercing beeping noise coming through my headphones. I'm not going to play it here, as to not bother anyone watching this video, but if you want to hear this sound for some weird reason, the video itself is still on Twomad's channel. By the way, Twomad's profile pic for whatever reason is a merged image of both Tommy in it and Call Me Carson. His obsession with Carson as of recently has been weird, but I just thought that was funny. Back to the video. If you could get past the first 5 seconds of Twomad's video though, all you would find was him responding to a video that the YouTuber Oompaville made on him. And that's it. He didn't respond to any of the allegations seriously. It was just a reaction video to Oompaville. And to top it off, the video isn't even a serious reaction to Oompaville either. It's just Twomad making memes half the time. So this just shows to me that he does not care anymore. Stuff like this is completely expected from Twomad at this point though. There's no point to expect anything serious from him in this situation. All you can do is just watch this train wreck from a distance to try to get some sort of entertainment value out of it. The video wasn't received well by his audience to say the least, with the like to dislike ratio being pretty bad, but if anything, this video is one of the most Twomad things he's ever done. Since we figured out that his persona in his videos is actually just him and not some bizarre character, stuff like this would be completely in his character to do. It's like he's incapable of taking situations seriously, and that's pretty bizarre to me. It's what has made this case pretty interesting to me for the past few months. Now, after this video, Twomad would start to upload pretty frequently, with some of those bizarre videos I've ever seen from him. One of them was him responding to a pyro video that was made on him, which was similar to his Oompa video, except without the ear-piercing noise in the beginning. And again, he doesn't respond to anything seriously, he just makes memes. Great job, Twomad. And since that video, he's made several more, one of which is a second response to Oompaville, and he'll probably have more videos up at the rate he's going by the time I'm even done scripting this video. Hell, this info I'm saying right now might already become outdated. That's how often he posts now. It's just been really weird to see in all honesty. But overall, Twomad is digging such a deep hole for himself that I think in a few months will be impossible to dig out of. It seems like his strategy was memeing the allegations away from his name at first, which did seem to work for a short period of time, but now he's done this so much that even his fan base is getting annoyed by him, and they're starting to go away now. Even if he's innocent of the allegations against him, he's already made way too many enemies so far to be seen in a good light. Nobody will want to associate with him after this, and he's already lost thousands of Twitter followers and subscribers. In my opinion, he'll end up just like Carson, slowly losing relevance over the years. Except with Twomad, it's probably more justified, since Carson barely did anything wrong to begin with. Moving on. If you want a good overview of the Twomad story so far, it's of a mentally ill shitposter who can't stop talking or making memes, even if it were to save his entire life if he stopped. Although I don't exactly agree that Twomad's career going downhill is deserved exactly, you can't say that he didn't do this to himself. From the beginning, everything was caused by some stupid mistake that he made. If he had just stayed quiet and ignored the controversy, that would have saved his career. Maybe not necessarily his reputation at that point, but he could have gotten out of this completely. But he could just never shut up about everything, and that completely led to his downfall. There's a reason that most people who get into controversies like this either wait for the heat to die down or they make a response and don't address stuff further. Hell, look at Miskiff. He's someone that screwed up majorly, but he just waited for the heat to die down for like a month, then continued streaming. I'm not saying it's necessarily the morally correct thing to do, by the way. I'd rather if people just admit to when they actually screwed up, but it's shown to be pretty effective. Twomad couldn't do that though, and everything he's done has led to where he is now. But with that said, I'm done with this video. Thanks to everyone for watching. I'll hopefully have another video up next week, but I have no idea when I'm going to get these finished, so we'll see about that. If you want to support me and my content, you could subscribe to my second channel, podcast, and become a channel member. But of course, those things aren't required. You can do what you want. And with all of that said, I'm done with this video. Oh yeah, one last thing. #FLM.